Broadcasting from the business capital of the world, this is the Podcast Business News Network. And welcome back, everybody. This is for anybody who is a leader. You lead a team. You've got people, it could be even your company, and you've got people that you work with. You want to get them committed to the goal, the purpose of your company, the values, but at the same time, you also want to keep them motivated, to keep them committed. How do you do all that? There's lots to talk about here. She works with leaders all the time, individuals as well, just looking to up their game. She's an amazing life coach, and she's back with us. Denise Krumlian joins us here on the program. How are you?
Hello, I'm doing well, Steve. How are you?
Very well. This word commitment resonates with me. I think I shared with you, I'm in a men's group, and we make commitments every single week to ourselves. And it could be anything. Nobody judges. It could be, I'm going to the gym 4 times an hour a pop. It could be, I'm going to paint the garage, whatever it is. But others on the team, the men's group, will hold us accountable. You know, we speak with one man every day for a week, and then, you know, different one the following week. So we get to know each other, and we know each other from the group, but we go deeper. And, you know, I'm going to talk to somebody later, and I know what he's going to say. Hey, did you work out? Because that was one of my commitments, and that's posted for all of us to see. When it comes to commitments in a team situation, let's start with that. How do you get people committed, dedicated to the goal? Yeah.
We've talked a little bit in the past about those first pieces of being clear on what your mission is and your value, and the value proposition of what you're trying to do and why the goal is important. And then there's the high level how, which is the strategy. And so the leader really, that's the role of the leader, to do those things. And then comes that's when the team comes in terms of their being high performing. So their motivation, their engagement, and then understanding all of those elements I just mentioned really helps them to be more committed when they understand their value and purpose.
Do you find that a lot of companies or situations don't really define what that is?
Absolutely. That's a lot of the work that I do, more somewhat on the consultative space, but also as a coach. So helping the leader get clear for themselves is a lot of the coaching piece. And then even the way I approach my workshops on strategy and developing their missions and visions, it's a lot of coaching questions. And so it really is coming from within them and their teams to create that collectively so that there's more buy-in, and then they can really move forward in a more aligned way.
I love the term buy-in because it really just describes what's going on here. Yeah. Why don't we get granular? Is this something that should be documented within a company?
I absolutely believe that the more you can have written down and solid in terms of your vision, mission, strategy, that's a huge place to start. And then the goals. So a lot of companies we're in it now for a lot of companies, you know, the goal planning cycle. How are people doing with their goals for this year? Getting ready for next year. What's the strategy? All of that. And so having that really written down so that they have something to refer back to can be really helpful.
This may sound cheesy, but I'm a believer in manifestation. Haven't aced that yet, still working on it. However, seeing it every single day, just in front of you, I'm thinking whatever those goals are, whatever the values are for a company, edit them so it's a quick read. Put it up on the wall. Put it there in front of you.
Company I was at for many, many years, that was one of the things I valued most, and that I've taken with me through my consulting work, is that for the whole time, over a decade that I was there, their core principles never changed. So the tenets of which they expect, the expectations of how they wanted people to be, that was consistent. And even working in the group that I was in, we had a consistent strategy, multi-year strategy. And that really helped because we would continue to reinforce it every time we had meetings so that people really, they embodied it.
Like the last big company I worked for, I couldn't even tell you. What's the values? We don't know what the goals are. It's sales, right? but it was never really defined. Even the one before that, not, I mean, truly defined. If there was anything, the company handbook, but that's, thou shall not do this, thou shall not do
Mhm.
that. That's
Yeah.
not what we're talking about.
No, no, we're talking about like that, the feeling that
Right.
people get. A lot of it's feeling too. And that's where this fostering a growth mindset and continuous improvement culture comes in, because a growth mindset is, it's not fixed. That you believe that people have the ability to continuously learn and grow and get to their next level. And
Mm.
the continuous improvement culture supports that, where you provide continuous feedback because it's constructive, that's supportive, that's not just like what people did wrong, but what's working well and where there are opportunities.
Mm.
And I call it wins and challenges. And that cycle, I do it in my goal setting group, my mind masterminds, and then I've done it in organizations too. And creating that can really help open up dialogue for people to feel more supported and not have as much fear around taking risks. And that's one of the things, if you want innovation in your organization, then you need to open it up so people aren't afraid to take those risks and have it be wrong for the first time or second.
First thing that comes to mind with a company that it appears to me the employees are on board. It's been defined. It's very clear. I don't know if you've ever been to a Chick-fil-A.
Mm-hmm.
My gosh, every single employee is a joy, eager to learn more.
Mm-hmm.
Their efficiency in terms of drive through is like bam, bam, bam. They rarely make mistakes when it comes to an order, at least in my experience.
Mm-hmm.
Um, I would have to say that. And by the way, my best friend's son started at a Chick-fil-A and now he's in management. Lives in Georgia now, and
Mm-hmm.
so I've seen the progression of him, and and heard what the culture is. It just seems that they've got it going. They've got it going on over there.
Yeah, and so I'm curious if I was talking with your best friend's son, is like what's made that work for him, and clearly he's progressed and had that growth in the organization. And if you go to a Chick-fil-A, for instance, in Georgia versus one in Boston,
Sure.
are you going to have that continuity in the service? And it sounds like you are. And so what they're doing is in their training, in their expectation management with those core, values and beliefs of how they want people to be, not just do, but be.
Yeah. Yeah. 100%. They're popping up all over where I am, but in
Mhm.
a very small geo,
Mm.
there's three, and I've been to all of them. One just opened up down the block from my house. Danger. Uh, it's consistent. It's
That's
consistent,
great.
and it's different owners. So
Mhm.
it's
Yeah, it's
whatever.
a franchise, I believe. So, right.
Right.
So, yeah.
Right.
Hmm.
And even in my friend's son, I've known him since he was born, and I've
Hmm.
seen his development along the way. And when he started there, it was he took it seriously.
Hmm.
And it kind of, I saw a complete change in him. And then when he elevated to management, another change. Like I would pull
Hmm.
up to the window, didn't even know he was working. I'm like, hey, Kyle, hey, how's it going? I almost didn't know who it was because he's a change person for the better in terms of professionalism and all of that. So
Hmm.
whatever they're doing there, that company culture, it must be very clear what the values are, very clear what the goals are. All of that must be very well
Hmm.
defined for them.
And the other piece that's coming to mind as you're saying that is, what are the metrics of success? That's a huge part of helping an organization to reach their goals and have that clarity for the team. And so that goes hand in hand with their vision, their mission, their strategy. And so what gets measured gets managed, and then that's what gets results. And so
Mm.
that's another thing that I work with a lot of companies, that they have things, they're moving forward with how they want to do stuff, but they don't really have a clear understanding of their current state and what's going from good to great. And so
So let's say we've defined what our values are, what the company culture is. It's all there. It's very clear. All right. We've got them committed. The team is committed. We can feel it. Things are moving well. How do you keep them motivated for that? And I think we might have talked about this in the very beginning. It ain't just about money.
No, it's not. It's really that the cycle of feedback is one thing. So, acknowledging the work they're doing and continuing to have them feel valued and showing the value and the purpose of what they're doing. That's one thing. It's also providing opportunities. Is there a stretch assignment that's going to help them to grow and that you can be a mentor or champion for so that they feel like they can stretch their wings a little bit and not be afraid to take those risks. Um, if there is a hard conversation, doing it in a way that's constructive so that it's not, they don't feel that there's no hope to continually get better.
Hmm.
All of it. And just ask questions. What do they need? Because it's different for every person. That's like at the end of the day, all of our conversations, these are frameworks and ideas and things from experiences that we've had, and nothing beats asking questions to the people that work with you.
I believe most leaders forget to do that, or maybe subconsciously or intentionally, they're afraid to. they're afraid of what they might hear.
They don't know how to ask the
Then
question
there's
in a
that.
way because a lot of times there's still a fear of being seen as not the authority on something, or if I ask and I get too personal and then the emotions get in the way. There's so many different
Hmm.
aspects that can be um, of concern for people when they go to ask questions. At the end of the day, it's being, I like to think about it as what's your intention? How do you want to, how do you want the day to go? How do you want the week to go? How do you want this goal to go or this project? And if your intention is to have the team be cohesive and have fun in the process,
Hmm.
then get grounded in that and your questions will come out with that intention in mind.
So asking questions, part of the motivation. What are some of the other things that we can do to keep them motivated?
Provide training opportunities. So if you ask them where they want to go, have the conversations about where do they want to go, either in that exact job or if there's another um, career path that they have, help them with their career pathing. Doesn't mean you're doing it for them, but you're opening the dialogue up for them to come to you. Let them have the money available so that they can come bring a training opportunity to you. That was one of the best things, I, loved helping people with and also took advantage of when I was in corporate was my ability to be a lifelong learner and continually have new certifications or I started my coaching practice while I was still a leader in tech. And so I was able to incorporate the things I learned on the side on my own into my leadership, and that's what really helped me change my leadership style.
I can see your passion there and your energy peak, knowing that they cared about you to invest in you, right?
Yeah,
Hmm.
it really makes a difference. It does. And it might even be that you don't understand how sometimes, you have to have it match exactly what your job is, your job title now. But if it doesn't have to, like, let them go take that class in AI, even if they're not working in AI right now. Let them, do something else that's going to help them if they are interested in being a manager and they're not right now. Leadership class, communication class, something like that.
Sure.
It, yeah, it really can make a difference.
I feel at the very least, it keeps you sharp.
Hmm.
You're learning something new. It's just your cognitive cognitive skills are just, sometimes you don't get to use them so much. You're doing the same job every day.
Yeah.
That's part of life. I get that. Praise. I know it's so obvious, but doesn't happen that often.
No, a lot of times it doesn't happen, and the only time people hear any feedback is when it's negative feedback. And there's scientific studies, not necessarily going to quote exactly, but I know that if you say one negative thing, you need to say like five more positive things to counter that one negative. So if a person is only hearing the negative, imagine the impact on them in terms of their morale and their engagement and their confidence. And that's a huge piece of it.
Hmm.
And for anyone that's listening that has been struggling with getting feedback that hasn't felt very constructive or they don't know what to do with it, I like to remind people of something that was told to me once, which is feedback is a gift. And even if it doesn't feel good, it's a gift because you get to choose what you do with it. You get to choose what you take away and what the meaning is for you. And so I just empower everybody to really look at the feedback of what does that mean for me, not just what does it mean for the company or from that person.
I never thought of it that way,
Yeah.
that it's a
It
gift.
really,
Yeah.
it really changed my perspective because I've done 360 evaluations. I've had them on myself, and sometimes it can be hard. Everybody has a different perspective, and what people perceive may not be what you feel, but again, knowing what they think or what they feel, it helps you to decide, what do I want to do with that?
Wow. Gotta tell you, this is new territory for me because I don't, feedback's good. I'm not saying it's not, sometimes it's not what you want to hear, but sometimes you need to hear it. So it can be a blessing if you look at it that way. What else? What else is floating out there we haven't talked about when it comes to that motivation?
I think really I think the innovation piece comes up for me a lot right now. And the feeling of fear, because a lot of times if the leader is more command and control, there isn't that open dialogue, and the conversations that we've had around making connections and having compassion, really that's so important to helping people feel more comfortable and confident that they can perform their jobs the way they're supposed to be experts in their role. And if they're not, then opening the door for them to ask for help. And innovation comes from creativity and trial and pilots and, just taking one step forward, two steps back. And that continuous improvement cycle really, you can't have a continuous improvement cycle if you're going to have people be dinged for not doing something right the first time. So
That's a horrible feeling too.
Mhm.
Being worried.
Yeah.
Can you give an example of a company you might have worked with, all confidential, and maybe a situation that they might have had and how that was turned around? Maybe even connected to motivating a team?
Yeah. One of the companies I worked for really saw change with leadership because of, again, the leadership style. And a lot of what we're talking about is from my own experience and seeing how it's worked. So going from a place where people didn't have a clear direction, didn't understand, it was always moving and the parts were always moving and the projects were always changing. And then it became more clear we were going to do this. This is the strategy, and you all need to be experts in your role. And so, what do you need to get there? And so, it was a very different way of operating, and it took a little bit, and it took us as a leadership team to work together on it. And we all had our own style, so it came out a little differently for each of our departments or our verticals. But at the end of the day, we were super aligned on what we were doing, and we felt empowered to do it. And the results were exponential. We went from delivering very few projects successfully to tens of almost 100 projects in a year. And they weren't small projects, but they were really fairly large projects. And the confidence of our business partners and the collaboration grew exponentially too, because they trusted us more because we were delivering.
How does the process work? I don't think we've ever talked about this. I have a couple of minutes left, but when you're working with a company and let's say they have you for a period of time, do you check in down the road, see how things are going? Do they check in with you, take a look at productivity or if goals are being achieved?
Yeah, I love checking in with people after we've kind of graduated from working together.
I love graduated. That's great. Yeah.
And so, and sometimes you come back. Sometimes there's a new situation that they need some additional support with, and it's great to come back and see the progress that they've made in the work that they've been doing. So yeah, I love being able to work with somebody long term and see that and be able to support them in multi-tiered approach. And then also if I've had time away to come back and check in.
Wow. You really do care.
Do.
You do. You take it to heart.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Too much of our lives are spent working. I want it to be fun and meaningful. So I practice what I preach every day with this. And, again, it hasn't always been this clear to me. And so it's taken years of my own personal growth and development to get to this place. But that's my why I want to help other people, because I know how much more fulfilling it can be when you have this.
That's truly a really great point. That think about how many hours you spend at work. Think about the relationships you have at work. Think about the stress that can come along with that. If you believe in energy or you study it, think about how much energy is transferred between people when you're at work. It's huge.
Absolutely. Our energy.
Yeah. Well, yeah, that's another podcast. You know what? I would love to talk about that once. And apply it to a leadership situation. I've never done that, never seen that done. Maybe that's something we could look at. Yes, I've talked about energy, chakra balancing, how it supports us, and all of that, but never in that capacity in the workplace.
I'm actually studying somatic coaching right now, which goes into the feelings and the energy work.
Wow.
So I would love that.
Super cool. All right. Best way to work with you. How do we do that?
Just go to my website, denisekrumlian.com. Best way. Can hit me up on my contact page, or if you have LinkedIn or Instagram, you can find me there as well. Denise Krumlian.
Always great talking with you. I will tell you, I am committed to you and what you do.
Oh,
I really am. You laser it, make it so clear, and you make it fun. Like, it doesn't sound like, I got to come up with, values and goals and put them up on the wall and all of that. It's fun because we see the vision based on the way you describe things, and it's really cool.
That's awesome. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
So grateful.
Right, we'll catch up next time. We'll be right back. Broadcasting from the business capital of the world, this is the Podcast Business News Network.
Of course my kid's in the right car seat. Well, I think he is.
Yeah, my kid's in a booster seat. He was ready to move up. He is ready, right?
Her car seat looks like the right size.
There are probably rules on when to move up to a booster seat, aren't there?
Rear facing, forward facing. I think I have it right.
Car crashes are a leading killer of children 1 to 13. Are your children in the right car seat for their age and size? Don't think you know you know. Go to safercar.gov/the right seat.
I know my child's in the right car seat, or else I wouldn't get in the driver's seat.
Brought to you by the National Highway Traffic Safety Administration and the Ad Council.